Back on Sports Pit, Pauly and Teddy, Betty at Inside Today. Follow us on Twitter at Pauly Howard, at Teddy_covers. We start with the Holiday Bowl. Tonight, San Diego. Washington State 10, 61 the total against Minnesota. And I don't know what to do with Minnesota here. Remember, this line was, 6.5. Then the suspensions, the possible boycott. They call that off. They're behind in prep time. In practice, Washington State gets a boost as Falk announces he's coming back. He was the fourth quarterback on some big boards out there by the draft experts. What do we do with Minnesota? First off, Teddy.
All right, let's start with this. I believe the line move following the suspensions is warranted. There's sometimes you'll see some overreactions with suspensions and some big line moves where it's not going to affect the team on the play. Well, for Minnesota, not one, not two, three key members of their secondary. Antoine Winfield, Antonio Chenot, Keontae Harden. Those three guys will not play. And when you're facing the air raid offense, look, Minnesota's going to have a hard time against Mike Leach's playbook if they had all hands on deck. Without all hands on deck, with a secondary that's missing three key pieces, it's not like they faced many air raid top offenses in the Big Ten this year. And, Washington State, it's a difficult simulation for the Gophers in practice. They don't have the scout team quarterback or the speed at wideout to effectively simulate what Washington State is going to try to do in this ball game. So you put those factors in with the suspensions, with the lost practice time. That's a big concern for me for the Minnesota side of the equation.
It's an underrated Washington State defense. Will Minnesota be able to move the ball?
Well, Mitch Leidner he battled some injuries this year, but he was basically healthy. What do you have, 7 touchdown passes to 12 interceptions? 56% of his passes were completed. We're talking about a senior QB who just didn't get a whole lot better during his collegiate career, doesn't have a whole lot of downfield weapons to throw to. If Minnesota's going to hang around in this game, they're going to need to be able to run the football. That's something they've done effectively all year. But as you mentioned, this year's Cougars, they weren't a one-trick pony. We've seen Leach's teams in the past. All they could do was throw the football and try to outscore teams. Washington probably had their best defense against the run of the Leach era, and probably their best special teams too. And throw in the fact they were able to run the football, and of course Falk. When you compare these two quarterbacks, there's no comparison. Falk 71% completions, 37-10 TD to INT ratio. One team is capable of making big plays. The other team, not so much. So if the Gophers are going to hang around in here, in my mind, side and total are definitely related in this game. If you like Minnesota, you're not expecting a shootout. The underdog and the under correlate in this one.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.